Let's be honest, compact crossovers are the ideal choice for a lot of Americans. Subcompact crossovers are a bit too small, they're lifted hatchbacks, and they do leave a lot to be desired in regards to overall refinement. This year we have checked out the Forester numerous times. The last time was the Touring, which was a very luxurious-like experience. But what about on the lower end for the base trim at around $30,000? What do you actually receive here for the 2025 Forester? Because we have talked quite a bit about how Subaru has re-engineered this generation, giving you better rigidity and overall refinement, but is that going to be felt on the more affordable side for 2025? Well, that's why I am here. We're going to check out what the 2025 Subaru Forester Base is offering, why it might be a great choice, what are you missing out on, and if you are looking at buying a new compact crossover right now and you want to stay around $30,000, maybe taking a look at the Forester Base might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Subaru of Wakefield here in Wakefield, Massachusetts, for letting me come down here to check out the new Subaru Forester Base. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Subaru inventory. Beginning with pricing, for 2025 with the base trim, you're looking at a starting cost of just below $30,000. Now, obviously, it is going to be the most affordable choice if you are looking at buying a Forester. I still think you got to go a little higher up in the trim levels to receive some creature comforts and also some great features that makes this crossover such a great value this year. But one thing you do not miss out on by going with the base is super symmetrical all-wheel drive and the 8.7 inches of ground clearance, which is class leading. So if you are looking for a year-round capable daily driver, you're going to love what the Forester is offering here. Now, in regards to the exterior, you will be missing out on some things, especially aesthetic features that I think has made this generation look rather appealing, but unfortunately that does not make its way and translate to this model. So up front, you are going to receive steering responsive LED headlights. That is standard across all trims for 2025 and does help give the Forester an upscale appearance. Unfortunately though, you do not receive LED fog lights. That will be equipped on the premium trim and above. Now, one styling element I do love about this generation is the shield effect front grille. However, with the base trim, you get a matte black look, whereas higher trims get a gloss gray front grille, which I absolutely love. So if you're looking for those aesthetics, go with the premium, but that matte black look will match the side mirror caps. And of course, with this being a base, you are not going to receive turn signal indicators with those side mirror caps, nor are you going to receive blind spot detection and rear cross traffic alert. So go with the premium if you want that. Just like we see across all trims though, you will notice the aggressive cladding for the front bumper, and then that will translate to the side profile for the wheel wells. I do love the rugged aesthetics of this crossover with the boxier shape. It does look more capable than in the past. Since we are talking about the side profile, by going with the base trim, you will receive 17-inch alloy wheels. Now, I do think this is the optimal choice if you do want on-road comfort and a minimal amount of road noise. The 17s do look fantastic for the exterior, but also you will notice the benefits by going with a smaller tire size for 2025. Better yet though, and I am surprised with this model, you will receive raised roof rails, and that does add on to the versatility and capability here with this model. So if you do go camping or you just need to tie some things down to the top of your Forester, you can do that here. Then making our way around to the back, nothing different here aesthetically, so you will have your standard taillights here that are not LED. You're not going to find LED taillights for the Forester for 2025. However, I do like the gloss black accent that runs through the rear fascia and into those taillights. A nice classy touch. Beneath that, you will find the Forester badge being stamped onto the tailgate, and that is written out, and that is something we're seeing a lot of right now in the automotive industry. One thing I do like though, and there's a minor touch, won't grab any attention at all, is that the Subaru badge is grayed out. I love that. Subaru is moving away from their chrome accents, and I think it is a great choice because now this vehicle does look sportier, does look more rugged, but also doesn't look cheap like you had with the chrome accents in the past. Then for the lower portion of the rear bumper, just like up front, you will have aggressive cladding, and better yet, there will be one visible exhaust outlet. I love to see that because a lot of manufacturers do tuck those exhaust outlets beneath the bumper for a cleaner appearance. Taking a peek under the hood for the 2025 Subaru Forester Base, it's the same engine that you're going to find in all trims for this model year. It's a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, producing 180 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque As always, it is paired with a CVT. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Oh, CVT and a low-powered engine, not going to be very fun to drive. Well, Subaru did retune this engine for 2025, and you're going to notice it's far more responsive than in the past. And with the CVT, it does mimic a traditional automatic transmission. Actually, I think Subaru CVT is one of the best CVTs right now on the market if you had to go in that direction. So I think you are going to enjoy what this vehicle is all about. However, it's all about the fuel economy for a crossover such as this, especially at around $30,000. So by going with the Forester Base, you're looking at a fuel economy of 26 miles per gallon in the city and 33 miles per gallon on the highway. Not too bad for a crossover in this market. And I do think that if you are looking for an economical crossover, this is going to be a great choice. Now, Subaru does have plans to give you a hybrid in the future for this generation, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like in the near future. Before checking out the interior for the 2025 Subaru Forester Base, you are not going to receive keyless access with a push-button start. So if you want that, you have to go with the Premium. Obviously, you can still lock and unlock the Forester with the key fob, but to start up the Forester, you'll have to use this key. Hopping inside the Subaru Forester Base, you're greeted by manually adjustable cloth seats for both the driver and passenger. If you want power adjustability for the driver's side, you will have to go with the Premium. Also, if you want heated seats, you have to go with the Premium. Now, in this particular market, cloth seats are hit or miss. You either get seats that are very stiff, firm, not a lot of bolstering, or you get seats that actually are somewhat supportive and comfortable, and thankfully the Forester does lean towards the latter. And I'm actually glad to see that because a lot of vehicles in this market do feel rather trimmed down, they're cheap, they reflect the price point. But with the Forester, what Subaru has done with these seats, because we saw this across the board in the lineup, at least for the Forester, that they remolded these seats and they give you a lot more support and bolstering. So on a longer drive, I don't think you'll be worrying about dealing with any back pains or leg pains. These are actually very comfortable seats. Now, I will say, though, that by going with the Forester Base, you are missing out on some creature comforts. You're missing out on a leather-wrapped steering wheel. It's obviously going to feel like a base trim, but that is not something that I think a lot of you are going to have to worry about with this model because Subaru isn't really trimming down on their technology too much with the Base outside the infotainment system. So in front of you, you are going to have the analog gauges with a small information display in the center. And by using the buttons on the left side of the steering wheel, you can scroll through a variety of information such as your temperature, your time, also your digital speedometer, your remaining fuel range, average fuel economy statistics, tire pressure monitoring system. You also have your radio, so you can change the radio stations from your steering wheel, which is really great to see. So that way you're not focused on using the infotainment system and you can keep your eyes on the road ahead of you. Now, also on the steering wheel, I'm a bit surprised by this with the base trim, is that you do get Subaru's SI drive modes for sport and individual. In sport mode, the throttle response is more aggressive, more lively, and you're also going to notice that with the steering, it does firm up a bit. Obviously, this is not a sports crossover with a sports tuned suspension, so it's not going to be agile or extremely fun to drive. But if you do want to have some of that sportiness make its way into this vehicle, definitely go in sport mode. But individual is nice and comfortable and relaxed. I think a lot of you will be in individual mode at all times. Now, also on the steering wheel, you will find your lane centering and adaptive cruise control. And that is one thing a lot of people love about Subarus, is that the EyeSight driver assist technologies do come standard. So you get lane centering, you get lane departure warning, and it does give you a lot more peace of mind and assurance when you are on the roads during the week, but also if you have your family with you. And better yet, if you are handing the keys to the young driver in the family, you're going to have that peace of mind when they go out to drive on an evening or just on a longer road trip. So I think you're definitely going to like the safety aspect for the Forester, and that is one of the main selling points, at least for the Subaru brand in general right now in the 2020s. Then taking a look at the infotainment system, you will not receive the 11.6-inch touchscreen with the base. However, you will have dual touchscreens that I personally don't like. I think they look rather old, which is why I think a lot of people do go with the Premium, but that's just my take. However, this will give you more of an analog layout that some of you who don't want to have a tech-filled experience might actually really enjoy. Now, with this head unit, you are going to receive Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, and you can plug in your smartphone through the USB-A outlet beneath the head unit. So, very traditional here for the base trim. Underneath the top screen, you will find quick access buttons for your radio, media, home, phone, and apps. You will not receive that with the 11.6-inch touchscreen. Mounted on both sides of this head unit will be your volume and tuning knobs, your front and rear defrosters, and yes, you do receive dual zone climate control. Now with the base trim, the Starlink user interface does mimic what you had for last generation. So it will function very much the same. You will have valet mode, which I'm a bit surprised to see for the base trim. So if you are going to a fancy restaurant and you don't want somebody driving off in your vehicle very quickly, you can just put in a PIN code, and that way you know that your Forester is not going to be abused. You can also scroll through your vehicle settings from this top screen as well, such as general, sound, phone, and radio. So very straightforward stuff here. I also think it will be easier to use on a daily basis. Then for the bottom screen, this is where it's a bit more in-depth. It's going to take some time to get used to everything here, where most of these features and settings would be embedded in a menu for the 11.6-inch screen. So before we even get into those menus, let's talk about the fact that at the bottom of the screen will be your climate control settings for your AC, also fan speed, fan direction, and your dual zone climate control. But for the icons, you're going to notice vehicle control, driver assistance, more settings, and then your auto start stop button, so you can turn that off or on as you please. With the vehicle control tab, you can turn on or off your vehicle dynamics control, which is basically traction control, adjust your cruise control acceleration speed, auto vehicle hold, and you can turn on or off the steering responsive headlights. I would leave those on. Then for driver assistance, you will have the settings for your pre-collision braking and lane departure warnings, so you can turn on or off pre-collision braking. I would leave that on since this is going to be a daily driver, and there's a lot of bad drivers out there on the roadways these days, so you might want to have that at your disposal. Then for lane departure warning, you can turn this on or off as well, or just adjust the warning systems where it will either buzz at you or it will make an audible noise, so that'll be up to your discretion. And lastly, for more settings, just like we would see in the 11.6-inch touchscreen, you can adjust the warning volume, units of measurement, and then the auto start stop button, which that is a bit repetitive for this bottom screen. Then continuing on for the rest of the interior, you will have an auxiliary outlet next to your USB-A input. You have a nice cubby for a smartphone or wallet, or maybe even some other smaller gadgets. Then of course you'll have your gear selector here that is not flanked by gloss black trim. A lot of you might actually like that. It'll be easier to clean with this hard touch plastic here. Then next to your cup holders will be your electronic parking brake, and then you'll have a 12-volt outlet. Then for the standard storage compartment, you have plenty of room for smaller items such as a couple wallets, smartphones, or smaller gadgets. And then to round out the front seating area, you do not receive a panoramic moonroof, and actually the base trim is the only trim for 2025 that does not receive that. So that is one sacrifice by spending a little less for the Forester than going with that premium. Then moving on to the second row, for passengers in the back, they're going to receive right around 39.5 inches of legroom. And I've talked about this year after year. I still think the Forester is the more family-friendly option in the lineup when you are comparing it to the Outback. A lot of people have disagreed with me on that because you get better legroom in the Outback and you do feel as though you're getting a bigger vehicle. However, because you have a lot more headroom, you can easily fit average-sized adults back here. And because you don't have a panoramic moonroof, no one is going to be hitting their head on the headliner. I also think that because you don't have an aggressive center hump here, you can squeeze in a third person in the center. And that's what makes the Forester, I think, very appealing in the lineup, because it is a traditional crossover, whereas the Outback is a lifted station wagon. And with that, you get the low roof line. And I don't think you get as much shoulder room. Even though on paper it looks like that, I still think the Forester is more comfortable and also more family-oriented. That is just my take and just what I've experienced in person. This would be the better choice. However, going with the base trim, you are going to be sacrificing a bit, especially for passengers in the back, because for one, they don't get a center armrest with two cup holders. They also don't receive two center-mounted air vents or a USB-A or USB-C input. So if you want some of those creature comforts, you're going to have to go with the premium at the very least. Also, you don't get heated outboard seats. That is to be expected. Although with the cloth upholstery, as I talked about up front, these seats are rather comfortable and they do provide a decent amount of support. And I do like them for a vehicle at around $30,000. So that is a win for the Forester Base, where I think a lot of you will be impressed in that regard. Then as you make your way around to the back one more time to take a look at the rear cargo area, no surprises here. With the Forester Base, you are not going to receive a power liftgate, and that is not an option for this trim. But inside, behind the second row seats, you're looking at right on 29.5 cubic feet of room, which does fall in line with a lot of vehicles in this market. It will be behind the CR-V, the Toyota RAV4, and Volkswagen Tiguan. However, if a lot of you do want all-wheel drive, you like that super symmetrical all-wheel drive and the class-leading ground clearance, you now have another element, which is practicality. So versatility and practicality at $30,000, that's not too bad. Also, this is a nice upgrade over the Crosstrek. If you're looking for a family-friendly crossover and you feel like the Crosstrek just isn't that, at least for you right now in your life, you're gonna like what the Forester is offering here. Then with the second row seats folded, you're looking at right on 75 cubic feet of room, which would actually fall in line with more vehicles in this segment. So because of the higher roof line, because of the shape of the Forester, this is most certainly suitable for larger families, but also you can definitely fit your pets back here with no issues at all. I think a lot of you are definitely gonna like the fact that beneath the floor mat, you will find a spare tire. So if you encounter a flat on your road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. Well, there are a number of sacrifices by going with the base trim over a premium or a sport. What you're not sacrificing is the refinement and rigidity of this platform and chassis. This crossover feels very much like the premium and, of course, the other trims for 2025. It's just that you're missing out on a leather-wrapped steering wheel and higher quality upholstery for the seats, although I do love the cloth upholstery we have here today. For a crossover at $30,000, they are rather plush and supportive, and that's really all you could ask for out of a base trim. I also think a lot of you are going to like the simplified interior, no 11.6-inch touchscreen, physical buttons and dials. This is going to be a great choice for someone who wants a more tactile and analog experience. I also really like this 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine. It's very responsive when entering highways and passing slower drivers, so it's not going to feel lethargic or slow. And on top of that, by adding some rigidity to this chassis, Subaru has made the Forester perform a little better in the corners when you are approaching some twists and bends. You feel that in the steering, and most importantly, you feel that with the suspension as well. There's not as much body roll and there's not much swaying here with this model. Even though you do have 8.7 inches of ground clearance, it doesn't feel top heavy like a Subaru Ascent. So you are going to feel right at home in this vehicle for 2025. As a daily commuter and family hauler, it is offering the bare necessities that I think makes it a solid choice at this price point. The only reason why I would say going with the premium is the better choice is because you do get X mode and hill descent control. So if you encounter winter road conditions throughout the year, or you go on those occasional off-road excursions, that will give you better capability and versatility. Although, if you only want super symmetrical all-wheel drive and the 8.7 inches of ground clearance, this vehicle is still more than capable of getting you through some of those snow-covered roadways. But all in all, what we have here with the Forester Base is a vehicle that doesn't feel cheap at all. Sure, you have hard touch plastics on the dashboard. It's not going to be a luxurious experience. This is not going to feel like a touring. But if you are looking at buying a vehicle in this market, maybe you don't want to go with the Crosstrek because it's too small, and you feel like going with a Forester would be a better choice for you and your family, you're getting a lot here. You get dual zone climate control, you get 2 touchscreens, which I still think looks archaic, but that's perfectly fine for a lot of you who don't want to have that 11.6-inch screen. You also get a vehicle that I think is very comfortable to drive. The suspension is tuned softly, and better yet, with the 17-inch wheels, you can go over the bumps and imperfections quite well, and road noise isn't too bad. So interior insulation is pretty impressive for a vehicle in this market and for a base trim. All in all, what you have here for the 2025 Forester is a solid crossover all around. Sure, I do think there's some better features available higher up in the trim levels, but if you don't feel like going with a premium or sport is necessary, I do think you'll be very happy with the base. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Subaru Forester Base. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.